The kick landed with a dull thud, sending sand into the air, and in that single heartbeat, the laughter of the beach seemed to die. What had begun as another perfect day under a blue sky turned into a moment that would scar everyone who witnessed it, because cruelty has a way of silencing even the loudest places. A wealthy heir, drunk on entitlement, had just attacked a helpless beach vendor and kicked her dog, never imagining that this small, ugly act would awaken a force far bigger than him. Before the story truly unfolds, take a second. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in standing up for those who cannot defend themselves, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The beach was one of those luxury stretches where white sand met turquoise water, where palm trees swayed gently, and the world felt divided between those who could afford paradise and those who served it. Among the sunbeds and umbrellas walked a woman named Mara, her shoulders slightly hunched, her steps careful. She was a beach vendor, selling handmade shell bracelets and small woven bags, the kind tourists admired briefly before turning back to their cocktails. Beside her trotted a medium-sized brown dog named Sol, his tail wagging despite the heat. Sol was not just her companion, he was her family. Ever since Mara lost her husband in a construction accident years earlier, the dog had been her shadow, her comfort, and her quiet protection in a world that rarely showed mercy to people like her. Mara knew how to read the beach. She could sense which tourists might smile politely and which ones would wave her away without looking. She also knew to avoid certain groups, especially the ones that drank too much and laughed too loudly, their confidence fueled by money and boredom. That morning, though, the beach was crowded, and avoiding everyone was impossible. She approached a group of young, well-dressed people lounging near the water, hoping to make a sale that would help her buy dinner. Among them was a man named Lucas, a rich heir whose family name was printed on skyscrapers and luxury hotels. He had grown up in a world where consequences were softened by lawyers and apologies were replaced by checks. To him, the beach was not a shared space but a playground. When Mara came close, holding out a bracelet, he looked at her with irritation, as if she were an insect buzzing near his ear. Sol sensed the tension and stood slightly in front of her, not growling, not aggressive, just alert. What happened next unfolded fast and slow at the same time. Lucas made a crude gesture, mocking her accent, laughing at the idea that she thought anyone like him would buy something so cheap. When Mara tried to step back, embarrassed but calm, Sol barked once, startled by the sudden movement. That single bark was enough to trigger Lucas's temper. He stood up, towering over her, and in a moment of reckless cruelty, he shoved Mara hard enough that she stumbled in the sand. Then, as Sol rushed toward her, Lucas kicked the dog with force, sending him rolling onto his back, yelping in pain. The beach froze. People stared, some gasped, but most did nothing. Mara dropped to her knees, panic flooding her chest as she reached for Sol, her hands shaking. The sound of his cry cut deeper than the kick itself. It was the sound of trust being broken, of innocence being hurt. Lucas laughed, emboldened by the silence around him, by the knowledge that no one ever really challenged him. But not everyone on that beach was there for luxury or escape. Far down the shore, jogging along the waterline, was a man whose body moved with quiet purpose. He wore simple clothes, his posture relaxed yet powerful, his eyes scanning the horizon out of habit. His name was Daniel, a Navy SEAL on leave, carrying scars that were not visible. He had come to the beach seeking peace after years of war zones and loss, but some instincts never sleep. When he heard the yelp, sharp and unmistakable, something inside him snapped to attention. Daniel saw the scene clearly as he approached. The woman on her knees, the dog struggling, the man standing over them with arrogance dripping from every movement. He did not run in anger. He walked with calm certainty, the kind that comes from knowing exactly what you are capable of. His presence alone shifted the air around them. Lucas turned, ready to shout, but stopped short when he saw Daniel's eyes. There was no rage there, just a cold, controlled focus that made his bravado feel suddenly thin. Daniel knelt beside Mara and Sol, checking the dog carefully, his hands gentle, his movements practiced. Sol whimpered but wagged his tail weakly, sensing safety. Mara looked up at Daniel with tears streaking her face, gratitude and fear tangled together. She expected more shouting, more humiliation. Instead, she felt something unfamiliar, protection. The crowd began to stir, people whispered, phones came out. The dynamic had changed. Lucas tried to brush it off, making dismissive gestures, but Daniel stood up slowly, placing himself between Lucas and Mara. He did not need to say much. His calm was more intimidating than shouting ever could be. Lucas felt it then, the unsettling realization that his money, his name, meant nothing in this moment. Daniel's presence drew attention from beach security, who hurried over, suddenly interested now that the situation looked serious. Witnesses spoke up, emboldened by the shift in power. They described the shove, the kick, the cruelty. Lucas protested, but his voice sounded hollow against the growing tide of truth. For the first time in his life, he was not in control of the narrative. Mara cradled Sol, tears dripping onto his fur as she whispered comfort into his ears. Daniel stayed close, making sure the dog could stand, checking for injuries. Sol was hurt but not broken, shaken but alive. That mattered. To Mara, it meant everything. To Daniel, it was another reminder of why he had chosen a life of service, why standing by had never been an option for him. As authorities arrived, Lucas's confidence crumbled. The beach that had once felt like his kingdom now felt like a courtroom. The story spread quickly, not because people loved drama, but because they had seen something raw and real. A line had been crossed, and someone had stepped in. When it was over, Mara expected to be forgotten again, another invisible worker in a luxury world. Instead, Daniel stayed. He helped her gather her scattered goods, paid her generously for every bracelet she had left, and made sure Sol was taken to a nearby veterinarian. Word of what happened traveled beyond the beach, beyond that day. It reached people who recognized injustice when they saw it. Over the following weeks, Mara's life changed in small but meaningful ways. The video clips and photos shared online brought attention to her story. Strangers reached out with support. A local shelter offered free care for Sol until he fully recovered. People began buying her crafts not out of pity, but out of respect. She stood a little straighter now, her fear slowly replaced by a cautious confidence. Lucas faced consequences too, real ones. His family could not fully erase what had been witnessed. Sponsors distanced themselves, invitations dried up. For the first time, he was forced to sit with his actions without the shield of privilege. Whether he truly changed or not remained to be seen, but the illusion of invincibility was gone. Daniel returned to his quiet life, slipping back into anonymity the way true heroes often do. He did not seek praise or recognition. For him, stepping in was not extraordinary, it was necessary. Yet, in Mara's eyes, and in the hearts of those who saw the story, he became a symbol, not of strength alone, but of humanity. The beach eventually returned to its usual rhythm. Laughter came back. Waves continued to roll in and out, indifferent to human drama. But for those who witnessed that day, something lingered. A reminder that cruelty thrives in silence, and kindness often begins with one person refusing to look away. If this story touched your heart, if it made you feel something deep inside, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement helps spread stories that matter, stories that remind us who we can be. And before this story ends, leave a comment below. Share your thoughts, your feelings, or simply write a few words about kindness and courage. Your voice matters more than you know. Mara still walks the beach today, Sol by her side, his steps steady once more. Every time the sun sets over the water, she remembers the day fear met courage and cruelty met consequence. She remembers that even in a world divided by wealth and power, humanity can still rise, unexpected and unstoppable. And for everyone who hears this story, may it serve as a quiet promise that no act of kindness is ever wasted, and no voice raised in defense of the vulnerable goes unheard.